Revenge of the Fishheads. And 1,000 slimy things lived on, and so did I. Sam Coleridge, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. One of the things you have to deal with in this business is being whipped on by brainless freaks and special interest pleaders. It never ends. On some nights, they gnaw on your doorknob, and on others they plot rotten lawsuits and fondle themselves like chimpanzees in rooms lit by 25-watt bulbs. These things happen. Not everybody lives like the Cleavers. Some people are bent, like Joe Thesmond's leg. But a few of them work for the Redskins, and nobody takes them to a hospital when their bones erupt through their flesh. We are all victims of this slime. They squawk on our telephones, and clog all the court calendars, and fill our mailboxes with gibberish that would get them indicted if people had time to press charges. There is no cure for it. Some god with a sense of humor, like Ed Wynn, made them that way, for his own reasons. Only a few are really dangerous, maybe 1 or 2%. But these are the ones who go over the edge and kill and slit and burn, or keep 100 stray cats in their condos and worship yellowed photos of Susan Atkins. They also write letters, and I have had a lot of them recently. They are all from Miami, from Fishheads and Jesus freaks and Nazis, and they are all connected, in one way or another, to the strange and frenzied cult of Dr. Neil Frank, the infamous hurricane junkie, who works for ABC News and was recently honored as 1985's Communicator of the Year by the National Association of Government Communicators in Washington, D.C. It was a fitting honor for the man. He is nothing if not a communicator. His frantic late-night commentaries on the high spots of his recent hurricane season were the hottest thing on the airwaves since Orson Welles did War of the Worlds in 1938. He drove millions of people crazy with fear and confusion. Frank is the on-screen director of something called the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables, Florida, a once fashionable suburb of Miami. He is also, according to a man named Tex, from the Coconut Grove, a lay preacher of some kind in the evangelical mode, who once opened a crusade by Billy Graham. This may or may not account for his huge and rabid following in South Florida, where his doomsday-style warnings about impending hurricanes with the energy of one of our early atomic bombs has elevated him to the status of a holy man. A literal messenger of God. More people have abandoned their homes and fled like rats to the high ground on the word of Neil Frank than ever ran blindly around the mountain and through the Red Sea with Moses. All Frank really does is scare people to death and tell them flee God's wrath. But the truth is that any baboon with a healthy heart and good diction and a contract with ABC's Nighttime could do Neil Frank's job, and the same giddy people would worship him. An outraged couple named Kempker, Florida and Virginia, from Key Largo said, in a short, crispy, typewritten note, "You have done Mr. Neil Frank a great disservice with your ignorant and vicious criticism. God will forgive you if you ask him," said a man named Possil from somewhere on the south end of Miami Beach. No sin is too great, except if you reject his son, Jesus. May the Lord have mercy on you. Somebody called Pick Cotton from the Cath El Cotton de Boer South African Message Organization called me a jackal with no feeling and said I was irrationally jealous of Neil. "Go back into the crevice you crept out of," he said. "You we can do without." The Thanksgiving week was a slow time for news in the Rockies. The summit was over, the Broncos were beaten, and the snow got deeper each day. Many animals died, but Russell Chatham ate most of them, and his mad dog girlfriend got off with something like 600 cured hides, which she sold on the streets in Hollywood. Finally, we had to put the Jeep in four-wheel low, just to get over to the Log Hill Tavern. Frozen bulls blocked the road in front of Wayne's place, pissing and stumping on the Terra. Some people stopped for the brutes, which is always a nasty mistake. The only way to move them is to whack the lever into compound low and stomp on the gas. Go straight at the buggers and give them a taste of the chrome. Sometimes a long blast off the horn will panic the whole herd, and you can chase them for miles at top speed. The tavern is normally calm on weekdays. It is a cowboy place, a small roadhouse far out of the back road far out on the back road down valley, the only neon sign within 10 miles in any direction. But the parking lot on this weekend was crisscrossed with Porsches and Range Rovers, and an occasional new BMW 735i. The local manager of the Friends of Robert Vesco group drove a Ferrari 308, and his wife is a deputy sheriff. They claim to be from Shelbyville, Kentucky, and said they raised purebred dingo dogs for a living, Australian animals. Tan curs about 30 or 40 pounds with no brains. Tan curs about 30 or 40 pounds with no brains at all, and a serious killer instinct. A pair of them recently sold at a dog show in Denver for $22,000, which is hokum, of course. But that was the price they announced. The buying and selling of dogs, especially working purebreds like dingoes and Dobermans, is a treacherous and unstable business. None of these things mattered to the Friends of Robert Vesco. Most of them had dogs of their own, and they were here for their animal reunion. It was a mean crowd, by and large in sheepskin parkas and eelskin cowboy boots, but they paid in cash, and nobody had any trouble. One man stabbed his wife in the parking lot, but it was only a scrape, and she was on the first plane to Denver on Monday, December 2nd, 1985.